In 1947, during the night, banker Andy drinks alone in his car while staring at a gun. Later, he ends up in court accused of murder. Andy says he argued with his wife because she wanted a divorce, but the lawyer gives more details. Andy suspected an affair and followed her to her lover's place after the fight. He allegedly killed them both. Andy insists he was drunk and only went to scare them, claiming he left without firing a shot. He says he threw the gun in a river, but it was never found. The lawyer argues the weapon was fired more times than it holds, suggesting Andy reloaded to shoot repeatedly. The judge sentences him to 2 life terms, 1 for each victim. Meanwhile, a convict named Red faces the parole board. He served 20 years and claims he's reformed, but his request is denied. He returns to the yard, where other inmates ask him for favors. Red is known for sneaking forbidden items into prison. Soon, a new batch of inmates arrives, and the older prisoners loudly bet on who will break first. Red watches Andy and thinks he looks too soft. Warden Norton tells the newcomers the first rule is respecting God, while the others will be learned. When one man asks about food, Captain Byron screams and hits him. Then the group is hosed down and locked in their cells while still naked. When the lights go out, one of the new guys starts sobbing. The inmates mock him and bully all the newcomers. Haywood especially taunts the crying man, trying to make him crack. The men cheer and give the sobbing man cruel nicknames, drawing the guards' attention. The man insists he doesn't belong there, but Byron pulls him out and beats him. Red notes that Andy remains completely silent through the night. At breakfast, Andy notices everyone staring and chooses to sit alone. He finds a maggot in his food, but Brooks takes it to feed a baby bird he keeps in his sweater. Meanwhile, Haywood collects cigarettes from a bet he won. Andy tries to talk to them, but Haywood brushes him off. Later in the showers, Boggs makes an indecent offer to Andy, who ignores him. Andy stays to himself for months to avoid any issues. Eventually, he speaks to Red and asks for a rock hammer, insisting he didn't kill his wife. Red agrees, but says it must be hidden well, or he'll lose his smuggling business. Red also warns Andy about Boggs and the gang called the Sisters, who prey on weaker inmates. After Andy leaves, Red decides he likes him. Not long after, a bag delivery arrives, and an inmate sneaks something hidden inside. Red trades cigarettes for blankets, brings them to his cell, and finds the rock hammer hidden inside. He gets it to Andy using Brooks's book card. That night, Boggs and the Sisters corner Andy and beat him before assaulting him. The next day, Andy shows visible injuries, and everyone figures out what happened. For 2 years, the Sisters continue attacking Andy. Sometimes he fights them off, but most times they overpower him. In 1949, Norton announces temporary factory jobs for inmates. Many volunteer, including Red and Andy. Red makes a deal with a guard and gets his group chosen in exchange for cigarettes. Under the hot sun, the inmates work on a roof as the guards talk. Byron mentions receiving an inheritance but being taxed. Andy hears and approaches despite Red's warning. Byron gets annoyed and drags Andy toward the edge, but Andy offers tax advice that could save his money. Byron is suspicious at first, but Andy offers help in exchange for beers for his friends. Byron agrees. The inmates enjoy cold beer during breaks for the rest of the week. Andy doesn't drink since he gave it up. Back in prison, Red and Andy play checkers, but Andy prefers chess and wants to carve his own pieces. Red again asks why Andy killed his wife, but Andy says he didn't. Then Andy asks Red about his crime. Red says he killed a person. Andy then begins carving chess pieces in his cell. He also uses the hammer to carve names on the wall. One day, during a movie featuring a beautiful actress, Andy asks Red to bring her to him. Red jokes it'll take a few weeks. As Red leaves, Andy is jumped by the Sisters in the projector room. He uses movie reels to defend himself, breaking someone's nose, but they still overpower him. Boggs hits him, then threatens him with a knife, demanding oral sex. When Andy refuses, they beat him badly, landing him in the infirmary for a month. Afterward, Boggs is placed in solitary confinement. When Boggs returns, Byron is waiting to beat him up. After that, the Sisters never touch Andy again. Boggs is left paralyzed and sent to a hospital. Red wants to welcome Andy back from the infirmary, so he and the others gather rocks for his chess set. Haywood finds one that's actually fossilized poop, and everyone laughs. Andy returns to find a bag of rocks and a new actress poster. Later, the guards do a surprise self-search. They check Andy's room, but find nothing. Norton chats with Andy about the Bible and lets him keep the poster despite the rules. Soon Norton moves Andy to library work. Andy meets Brooks and a pet crow in the library. Brooks has been there since 1912 and never had help before. Their talk is interrupted by a guard sent by Byron, who needs financial advice. Andy walks him through setting up a trust fund. Over lunch, Andy tells the group he's probably in a library to help the guards secretly. He wishes he could get more books, but they doubt Norton would allow it. Andy asks anyway and is denied. He tells Norton he'll write to the Senate weekly, and Norton agrees to mail the letters. Over the years, Andy does tax work for all the guards. He also keeps writing the Senate but gets no reply. Eventually, Red becomes his assistant. In 1954, a prisoner fetches Andy and Red because Brooks is holding Haywood at knife point. Brooks says it's the only way to stay. Andy talks him down gently, and Brooks breaks down. Red later explains Brooks has spent 50 years inside and doesn't know how to live outside. Brooks releases his bird before leaving. Life outside is a shock. Cars are everywhere, and he struggles at a grocery job. He visits the park to feed birds and can't sleep at night. After a while, he carves "Brooks was here" into the wall and takes his own life. A letter arrives in prison explaining what he planned to do. Red believes Brooks should have died in prison with him. Later, Andy receives a big stack of books and $200 from the Senate. He finds an opera record and plays it over the loudspeakers. He locks the door to stop interruptions. Norton shows up, and Andy turns the volume up. Byron smashes the glass and captures Andy, sending him to solitary for 2 weeks. At his next parole hearing, Red says rehabilitated is a useless word and that he's not the same man. Surprisingly, he's denied again. When he returns, Andy gives him a harmonica. That night, Red plays the harmonica, and Andy gets another poster. Over time, Andy writes even more letters until the government agrees to fund prison upgrades. Everyone helps convert an old room into a real library with music. That year, Norton starts the Inside Out program, forcing inmates to work unpaid. He keeps the money. When a local builder begs for a contract, Norton takes a bribe to decline. Andy manages all the shady finances. He tells Red it's safe because everything is under a fake name. In 1965, new prisoners arrive. One of them, Tommy, is a talkative burglar. Red's group likes him right away. Tommy wants to better himself for his wife and kid. Andy helps him prepare for a diploma. Once his chess set is done, Tommy becomes his new project. After a year, Tommy takes a practice test but doesn't finish. He gets angry, crumples the papers, and storms off. Andy picks them up. Later, Tommy hears Andy's story and is shocked. He tells Andy about a past cellmate who bragged about murdering a couple and letting the husband take the blame. Andy is desperate and goes to Norton for a retrial. Norton dismisses it, accusing Tommy of lying. When Andy threatens to expose the corruption, Norton locks him in solitary for a month. Tommy receives a diploma. Andy mailed his test. That night, Tommy is called outside, where Norton questions him. Tommy swears his story is true. A guard shoots Tommy dead. Norton tells Andy Tommy tried to escape. When Andy quits accounting, Norton says it'll cost him the library and guard protection. Andy is sent to solitary for another month. When he gets out, he tells Red he didn't physically kill his wife, but did it emotionally. He dreams of owning a hotel in Mexico. Andy wants Red to join him, but Red thinks he'd fail outside. Andy asks Red for a favor. If Red ever gets out, find a black rock under the oak in Buxton where Andy proposed. At lunch, Red tells the group Andy's been acting off. Haywood says Andy asked for a rope, and everyone worries. That night, Norton has Andy polish his shoes before bed. Red can't sleep. In the morning, all inmates are out except Andy. His cell is empty. Norton finds his shoes swapped. Guards question Red, but he knows nothing. Norton throws a rock at the poster, revealing a tunnel. They find Andy's clothes, soap, and hammer. Turns out Andy found soft wall behind his carvings and dug a tunnel hidden by posters. He scattered debris during yard breaks. The night before, he hid a box on his foot, swapped Norton's book for a Bible, and escaped through the pipe. He banged the pipe during thunder and crawled through filth to freedom. Andy visits banks, pretending to be his fake name, and withdraws all the money. He mails evidence of corruption to the press. Norton sees the story in the papers and hears police sirens. He opens his safe, finds the Bible, and sees the hole where Andy's hammer used to be. Byron is arrested, and Norton kills himself. Later, Red receives a postcard with a clue from Andy. A year later, Red goes to another parole hearing. He tells them he's tired of playing games and doesn't care. They grant his release. Red is given a small apartment and sees Brooks's message on the wall. He even gets the same grocery job. Soon, he feels hopeless again and considers dying. But remembering his promise to Andy, he hitchhikes to Buxton and finds the tree in Black Rock. Under it is a box with money and a letter inviting Red to Mexico. He packs his bag and heads to the beach, where he finally reunites with Andy. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos like this. Thanks for watching.